mistakes. You really thought they could with that one. Ha, they didn't. Hey guys, welcome back to my YouTube channel, and if you're new here, welcome to the channel. Today I'll be going through some major concepts that I found in the CAPE Communication Studies 2022 paper, Module 1. We're focusing on Module 1 as you've seen from the title. And I'll also be giving you a sample essay, and if you need notes from the video, everything that I've said, it's linked in the description down below, and of course on my website, also link to that in the description below. The Module 1 extract dealt with the topic of cosmetic surgery and procedures and how client needs were changing or are changing over time as we see the introduction of photo editing software and filters in apps such as Snapchat. So here in my notes I've said that the main point of the article is that due to the emergence of photo editing software and photo editing apps and filters such as Snapchat, the acceptance and use of cosmetic manipulations have increased drastically over the years. And I believe that the main point, in order to get your marks for this, you need to speak about basically the introduction of these photo editing software, as well as maybe the filters from apps such as Snapchat as mentioned in the extract, and how this is causing an increase in demand for cosmetic procedures. So the author's purpose is to provide insight into the shift that occurred with the introduction of photo manipulating software and filters. Then the question itself, as usual, just wanted you to speak about organizational strategies, language techniques, and comment on how this could be applicable in the Caribbean context. I mean, you really thought they cooked with that one. Nah, they didn't. But anyways, for organizational strategies, I would advise, basically, before trying to find them, try to get a feel of what the overall text structure is. There are usually 5 main categories, that being sequence, argumentative, descriptive, problem solution, or cause and effect. After reading the extract, I selected the overall text structure as cause and effect because I could see that the overall message was that because of new photo editing software and different ways in which people can edit their selfies, we're seeing a rise in cosmetic procedures. So the cause being introduction of new technology, and the effect is increase in demand for cosmetic procedures. Organizational strategies that I found were use of authority. Evidence of this was where the author presented research or evidence from researchers such as Neelam Vashi, Susan Paxton, Tijan Esho, and Renee Englund. The writer uses this to apply or put credibility onto the argument, and also to present the major arguments in a logical order. When you're thinking of organizational strategies, you need to think about how has the author used this particular strategy to make the argument come across in a logical order, or put structure to the way in which they're presenting the argument. The author uses statistics such as triple between 2000 and 2018. He saw words such as up from 15 million in 2013 and 42% of cosmetic surgeons. Now, these statistics were used to further compare and contrast the demand on cosmetic procedures before the introduction of photo editing software. So again, this is helping the writer to showcase or drive his or her agenda by again showing before we had this number of people opting for cosmetic procedures, but after the introduction of these photo editing software, we have more. Also saw the use of italic text formatting, where whenever the author needed to showcase a source, for example, the Journal of the American Medical Association, Plastic Facial Surgery, also International Journal of Eating Disorders, and also Beauty Sick, think this one was from Susan Paxson, but I don't remember. But beauty sick, how the cultural obsession with appearance hurts girls and women. The author uses this to pull attention to major sources of information that would help to basically bolster his claim or credibility. Also saw the use of hyperphora, and hyperphora was in paragraph 4. And hyperphora is where a question is asked and the answer to that question is given directly after. Essentially, the writer uses this to guide the argument and guide the reader's mind into where the argument is basically going next. I also saw the use of listing, and that's when they were describing like the different things in which celebrities were doing or opting to do in order to keep up appearances. So that included regimented exercises, controlled diets, and also having a team of makeup and fashion experts on hand. Comparison and contrast, and I believe this was what I opted to speak about in the sample essay, and of course I'll give you the sample essay after. But in the lines, people historically came with photos, and for example, colossal distance between stars and everyday people. You see, they're comparing before and after, the state of affairs before and the state of affairs after the introduction of a photo editing software. As for language techniques, people usually find this a bit difficult, but I've come to find out that language techniques are mainly figurative devices, and I like to say they add spice or flair to the writing. So the use of metaphor, and in the first line it says photo editing is driving clients to redesign themselves. It is metaphorically suggesting that photo editing is influencing people to change how they look, which, I mean, metaphorically, please. I also saw the use of euphemism, and this is where the first line they said physicians who work at the aesthetic edge. Physicians and aesthetic edge, come on, we all know you're talking about cosmetic surgeons and plastic surgeons. I also saw the use of direct quotations, and this goes hand in hand when you see the use of authority. The direct quotations here are, of course, direct quotes from the people who you would use as your authority figures in your writing. Also saw the use of hyperbole, and I'm going to repeat this because it was where I saw the term colossal distance. That just seemed like an exaggeration to me. If you happen to find any more, leave them in the comments down below. Now the essay. I'll say this in every video, and I'm sorry if you're tired to hear it, but you need the elementary frame by saying that the main point is that, and the author's purpose is to. The main point of the article is that due to the emergence of photo editing software, the acceptance and use of cosmetic manipulations have increased drastically over the years. These changes have transcended from our virtual scenes, virtual screens rather, to the physical environment. And this here is what I call a linking statement. So essentially, I'm still using my general essay build where in my introduction I have a hook, leading statement, and This isn't really a thesis, but a third sentence in this case. So the author's purpose is to provide insight into the shift that occurred with the introduction of photo manipulating software and filters. And that's virtually my introduction. Oh, I need to dash with that laugh. In the following paragraphs, you want to go into answering the questions, and on the exam paper, CXC actually asked you to go into speaking about one organizational strategy and one language technique. As I said, I had decided on comparison and contrast as my organizational strategy to speak about, and I believe metaphor was what I went for in the sample essay for language technique. You want to start your second paragraph by signposting, and you signpost by starting with a topic sentence that tells the reader what this paragraph will be discussing without saying I'll be discussing in this paragraph blah blah blah. So to do this, I said to drive this purpose, the author uses comparison and contrast as an organizational strategy. So now you know that I'll be speaking about comparison and contrast as my organizational strategy, and the marker now if you ask Christ if they forgive me my mark. So they know from the get-go if what you'll be talking about in the following sentences is rubbish or not. The overall text employs a cause and effect structure. However, comparison and contrast is used throughout the article to support the text structure and highlight the difference between traditional use of cosmetic procedures and how it has changed since the introduction of photo editing software and filters available in apps like Snapchat. The first paragraph introduces this concept stating, and this is where I'm providing evidence for the strong claim that I had just made, because I said that comparison and contrast is used in the article to support this cause and effect text structure. To provide evidence for this, I said the first paragraph introduces this concept stating people historically came to plastic surgeons with photos of celebrities, ... I didn't write out the whole thing because I am very mindful of my word count, you see? So now they're coming with edited selfies. I thought that was only the part that was relevant for my point, to be honest. And after providing evidence, I'm now going to explain how this evidence links to the point that I made. So I said this statement compares traditional behavior with the modern way of thinking about self-enhancement procedures. Furthermore, comparison and contrast appears again in the fourth paragraph where the author writes colossal distance between stars and everyday people. This further drives the concept of cause and effect. Now, due to the introduction of software and apps, everyday people are able to be celebrities in their own right. I did a little double back there because what I did after saying this statement compares traditional behavior with the modern way of thinking about self-enhancement procedures, I went ahead again and I gave another piece of evidence. I said, furthermore, comparison and contrast appears again in the fourth paragraph where we see colossal distance between stars and everyday people. And then I explained the relevance of this. This further drives the concept of cause and effect. Now, due to the introduction of software and apps, everyday people are able to be celebrities in their own right. Then, moving on to the second body paragraph where I'll speak about the language techniques. Again, please signpost, and I've introduced a transitional phrase. So I said, in addition to organizational strategies, the author employs metaphor as a language technique. So now you know that I'll be speaking about metaphor as a language technique. That was my point. Now I'll provide evidence by saying in the first line, the author states that people are now using photo editing to redesign themselves. Now, explaining how my evidence links to the point, this metaphor suggests that photo editing is a driving force influencing cosmetic surgery clients' behaviors. It supports the idea that the shift cosmetic surgeons are seeing is in fact rather due to the introduction of new technology, which makes it easier to change oneself into an idealized representation of beauty described in the passage as perfectly primed and filtered. And that's my second body paragraph. I used my third body paragraph to talk about the third question, which was to comment on how this could be applicable or relatable in the Caribbean context. Hate that question. Think it's utter rubbish, but I digress. I said though, although this article is broadly applicable, it could be more relevant to the Caribbean context by considering factors such as cultural influences that shape regional beauty standards and how social media use in the region impacts perceptions of beauty. So that's my topic, sentence, and point in one. So again, I'm signposting because now you know that I'll be speaking about how we could make this more relatable in the Caribbean context, and I've already made my suggestion of using cultural or exploring cultural influences that shape regional beauty, as well as exploring how social media impacts the perception of beauty in the region. Evidence. For example, Caribbean society's perception of beauty is heavily influenced by Eurocentric and indigenous aesthetics. This is evident in the term coolie. Loosely used in Caribbean society, is readily tagged to pretty. So I'm essentially saying here, usually when somebody calls somebody coolie, them really mean the person pretty, right? Even though you know it's a certain type, a certain look that get called coolie, right? But I digress because that's not what we're here to talk about. This is how filters on Instagram, apps like Instagram, TikTok, and Snapchat predominantly cater to the Eurocentric aesthetic. This creates significant issues related to colorism in Caribbean society, leaving those who do not align with the Eurocentric features portrayed in filters feeling underserved and underrepresented. Thus, many may feel that a change in appearance is needed. And then I'll wrap up everything with a wee conclusion. In conclusion, the author raises the issue of how photo editing apps and software have contributed to the rise of cosmetic procedures in society. So I've restated basically the main point. Then I'll restate the organizational strategies that I covered, as well as the language techniques, and finally the Caribbean context question 3 that I don't too fancy, but we're trying to get marks here. So the author uses a cause and effect structure with comparison and contrast as an organizational strategy, and metaphors as a language technique to raise awareness about this issue. So I kind of just dropped the purpose in there, like little tips right there to raise awareness about this issue. However, the article could be made more relevant to the Caribbean context by addressing how culture and social media influence the region's beauty standards. That was a Module 1 essay. If you want to watch a Module 2 for 2022, I don't know. Maybe I'll put it in the description. It's on the end card somewhere on the screen here, or you can just go check my channel. But if you enjoyed this one, don't forget to like, subscribe, and of course, if this helped, send it to a friend and watch another one.